Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it is day 3 of our September 2021 release, and I have 2 cards to share with you today. Hey everybody, so I am using our Brewing with My Gnomies stamp set, along with Purrfect Halloween, Word Bubble dies, our Spiderweb Stencil, and our new Halloween Hisses stamp set. Super cute. There we go. And I colored those images up with Copic markers and cut them out with my Brother Scan and Cut with a 0.4 border. All my die cutting was done on my Gemini machine. Now that's a Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, and that's a piece of Simon Says Stamp 120-pound cardstock. And I'm going to be doing some ink blending on it. Now that is a Tailored Expressions 6x6" blending masking stencil, and I'm going to be doing some ink blending on this card base. So it's a little larger than I need just so I can cut it down with the die. So this is Dusty Concord ink and a Tailored Expressions blending brush. And I'm just going to lightly apply this Distress Oxide ink to the center of this mask. Like just trying to define the edges more than anything. There we go. And just bring it in from the edge. It doesn't have to look perfect. It'll be covered up by a stencil, but I just wanted to define the edges. There we go. So easy stuff. I love the Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station holding everything in place. Now this is the Distress Oxide ink and Wilted Violet. And I'm pulling in our Spiderweb Stencil from Jaded Blossom. And I'm going to put that over top. So we'll just be applying the stencil into the circle. And we're going to do this with more of a heavy hand. So I'm kind of making my own pattern paper background, but only in a circle. There we go. So easy stuff. I'll pull that off, and does that look neat? I think it turned out pretty cool. So I'm going to set it aside to dry, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with a second piece of cardstock. And this is the same Tailored Expression masking stencil along with the Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, pulling out Distress Oxide ink in Twisted Citron with a Tailored Expressions blending brush again. I kind of wipe it off just on that microfiber cloth. And now I'm doing the exact same thing, blending around the edges, trying to define the edges more than anything with the lighter color. And then I'm going to bring in the darker color in Distress Oxide ink and Mowed Lawn. And I'm going to apply that same stencil. I did wipe it off. There we go, because you don't want to, you know, put some purple in there. You'd make some mud. So now I am adding the darker color. And like I said, a heavier hand, just to make my little pattern paper circle basically on that background. There we go. And I do set this paper off to dry to the side for a little bit. There we go. Now since it's dried, I'm pulling out my rectangle dies and I'm cutting a rectangle around this little area. And I'm using mint tape. It's kind of like a low adhesive tape. I'm pulling out the scalloped rectangle dies too. And I cut out a piece of 12-inch Doodlebug Orchid Dot stripe with the scallop die. There we go, which is slightly larger than the rectangle die. And I did the same with a Citrus Gingham Linen 12-inch. And there we go. So there are my backgrounds. Now I have 2 cards that I'll be making. I'm just sort of smoothing out my stitching there using my Teflon bone folder. They're great for a lot of things. And there we go. So now I'm going to be quickly making my cards. So this is Paper Tray ink, black, true black cardstock, cut at 5.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches, 8.5 inches long, and I scored it at 4.25 inches. So we have an A2 size horizontal card. Doing the exact same thing to this one. Martha Stewart scoreboard, sorry guys, and Teflon bone folder. So there we are. Just scoring that. I'm working on my Stampin' Up pad again. There was a lot of reflection on my Ranger glass mat. I got to work that out still. Now I'm using my Halloween banner dies and Halloween dies. And I cut out some bats out of that same color of black, and I'll bring that in a minute. So I'm using my ATG gun to apply tape to the back of this scalloped purple piece, and I'll apply that to the center of the front of the card. Just trying to get things lined up straight. I'm a little challenged at that these days, so it takes me a bit. And I had a couple hangers on there, so I'm using a nail sponge just to sand it off. And now I'm pulling in the citrus gingham, and I'm going to add that to the front of the other card with the ATG tape again. So easy stuff. And, you know, we'll just center it, and then we'll have a quick card. I love these bright colors from Doodlebug. They're just so pretty. And my favorites are the dot stripe, like dot stripes, and the gingham linens. Those are just my favorite. I love those for backgrounds to give a little bit of interest, but nothing too busy. There we are. So I'm going to line that up in the center. And this is taking me forever because, you know, like I said, I'm challenged at this these days. And if you're using ATG tape, you really don't have a chance to make a mistake. That's going to rip some cardstock. Okay, so now I have my two card backgrounds. And I cut the black cardstock, the same one, at 3 3/8 by 4 5/8, so I can frame out that the stitched rectangle. The rectangle I used was roughly 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. There we are. And I just cut the black paper 1/8 of an inch larger just to give it a second frame, or one frame to go in between, you know, the background and my pattern paper. So there we go. Now I colored my images using my Copic markers. They'll all be listed on my blog, all the colors that I used. And I put everything on my blog that I use. So if there's anything you see that you want to get, usually I have everything listed there. So there we go, just applying some more ATG tape, and then I'll add these to the front of my cards. Now you'll notice that I wanted the purple on the green, and I want the green on the purple. I just find it gives it more of a pop of color, and it also, you know, that's what I'm going to be doing with my little cat Halloween cup and my Frankie Halloween cup. I'll be putting the opposite color on the background just to make it pop a little bit more. So there we are, lining everything up. I love using Jaded Blossom stencils this way. I just think that it's great. It gives a neat little spotlight look. So now I've got my images, and I'm going to pop them up using 3M foam tape, just because it rips and it tears easy. And, you know, I could have used other dimensional adhesive. I use Stampin' Ups a lot, but right now I decided I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use my 3M foam tape for these. And I'm going to pop up these adorable little Halloween mugs. So if you are a coffee drinker, this is kind of up your alley, or even a tea drinker, you know, or this could be cocoa in this mug for all we know, but these mugs are just too darn cute. I just love them. And I'm just making sure that everything is equally popped up because you don't want anything to dent in the mail. I like things all level when I'm popping things up. People always say I use too much, too much foam adhesive, but I think you can never use enough because you want it to be really level. And I hate that when things look kind of wonky. So there we are, adding a little bit more foam tape there. And we'll get this all straight. The sentiments on this set are adorable. I'm using the Halloween hisses for the cat, and then I'll be using Let's Be Frank, Coffee is the Best for the little Frankie mug. So it's just too cute. So I'm just going to peel off this backing here, and then we will get going on this. And I'm clumsy today. Okay, so now I'm going to add that to the front of my card. And I kind of want it off to the side. Now my sentiments were stamped onto Nina Solar White cardstock. I always color on Nina Solar White 80 pound, and the sentiment is on the same one. It's just what I do. There we go. So now I'm going to pop up the sentiment, and you notice that I cut them out using our word bubble dies. I just find that super easy to do, so I do it a lot. There we go. You'll notice there's a few highlights on my mugs, and I do use a Sakura white Jelly Roll pen and a number 10 to do those. And there we are. So I'm going to add this to my little mug so I have a sentiment. And I'll pull out my art glitter glue just so I can glue down the little part that's going to stick on top of the cat mug there. Just trying to get things straight using my EK Success reverse tweezers. And there we go. So that's basically the card. I will zhuzh it up a little bit a little later with some bats, but that's the idea anyway. So now I am going to pull off all my backing foam off of this little Frankie. This is so cute. I had such a good time coloring these, and I don't even like to color. FYI, this is kind of like, I got into coloring kind of against my will. It wasn't what I really wanted to do. And now I like the outcome, but I really don't enjoy the coloring. I find that I sweat the whole time. I sweat the details. I'm always like, oh no. So like, if you look at the Frankie's eyes, I couldn't define the pupil. So I added some secure white Jelly Roll pen, but I really didn't like that. So I'm going to pull out something a little later to define the eyeball or the pupil a little more. There we go. Adding a little bit of that art glitter glue again. Just trying to get things straight. And there we go. So super cute stuff. Now I went ahead and I cut out bats from that Halloween dies and the Halloween banner dies out of that paper tray ink black cardstock. And now I'm using scrapbook adhesives. They're thin 3D foam squares in black. And I'm just going to use those to pop up the bats. And I do have to cut them in half using my EK Success scissors for the skinny bats. But for the big bat, I was able to fit 3 little squares of foam adhesive behind it. And then I will add little slivers. I just cut these squares in half, the small ones. There we go. And then I'll pop up the little bats. I just think these turned out adorable. Super easy. On the inside, all I did was I added a piece of white cheap cardstock, 4 by 5 1/4 inches. So it's got a nice border on the inside. And at the end of all this crafting, when I have some leftover Halloween paper, I will probably put 1 inch of Halloween paper across the both of them. I'm going to be adding sentiments to the inside also. I didn't take pictures, but I put sentiments on the inside from those 2 Halloween stamp sets that I mentioned at the beginning. What was it called? Brewing with my Gnomies. And I think it was Have a Perfect no, not Have a Perfect Halloween. Sorry guys, I'm looking through my little pile here trying to find it. Oh, it'll be listed on my blog. Sorry guys. But I also used that one with the cat and the dog stamps for the inside. There we go. So how cute is that? Now see, I'm not liking those pupils. So I'm going to pull out my Nuvo Crystal Drops in Ebony Black. And I'm just going to put a nice dollop as a pupil in the center of each eye of, on this cute little cup. And then we will call that done. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog and check out everybody's beautiful designs for today. And also maybe, see if you want to get your hands on this. Today's the last day of the Gotta Have It Now. Everything will be in the store starting on Friday. And that's about it. So please come back and visit my blog tomorrow. And my YouTube channel, as I will have some more projects to share. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.